to the cloud. Okay, so the recording has started. So good afternoon all, and thank you for registering for the Cybersecurity Masterclass training and for joining the actual training today. Beautiful afternoon here where I am. Though it's October, October the 2nd, I believe, and as usual, here in the UK, the weather is changing. So we're beginning to experience, the normal, rain that would usher us all into winter. All right. So by 31st, I believe, the clock will change. So some of you are familiar with this, but maybe a few people that are not. So if you're joining us from Nigeria or Africa, in the West Africa, so it would just simply means that we're behind you in 1 hour, in time. All right. So beautiful, a little bit cloudy, to be honest, not a great weather, but again, we're grateful to God for the weather. All right. So by way of introduction, my name is Wale Omolere. So I will turn on my video just for a split of seconds so that you can put a face to the name. So this is me here. Just ignore my background. So this is Wale. Some of you, I would get the opportunity to meet you. A lot of people, I've spoken to you over the phone. Okay, so this is my humble self here. So I will turn off the video again. All right. So it's Wale Omolere. I am the founder of Smart Learning. So just a little bit about Smart Learning. Smart Learning is an IT security training organization. We're registered here in the UK, and we're registered in Nigeria as well. And we've got presence everywhere. In terms of our training, is predominantly, our method of delivery. It's online, though we do on-site training, but we do more of online training. Of course, the COVID as well, but thankfully, that is going away. Okay, good one. Okay, not sure what happened there. Okay, all right. Just bear with me. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah, Tune, just kindly keep an eye on it. We shouldn't be having recordings. That's a bit weird and strange as well. So I trust God that we're going to have a very smooth time today, in terms of the recording and the training itself. So I do apologize for that. I don't know what happened, to be honest. All right. So I was telling you a little bit about ourselves, that we're registered here in the UK and also Nigeria as well. We specialize in training in different types of IT courses, type of IT courses training with varying level of difficulty. So what that simply means is we have courses that we train on the beginner level. We also have some courses in the intermediate level, then also to the advanced. All right. And this, the type of courses that we have, it would appeal to different type of people, depending on where you are in your own career and also the background that you have come from as well. All right. So today, in today's training, we're going to be looking at, the following topics in the table of content that you can see here. Number one, I will talk to you about the introduction to cybersecurity. And that's about the 80% of what I'm going to be sharing with you today. This is 20%. Then we would go to move to about us, our approach, our candidate's journey, course level, course category, what we offer, and also career, pathway as well. But I'm going to be focusing more on the introduction to cybersecurity. All right. So, introduction to cybersecurity. So like I said, today, I will be teaching you some of the fundamentals, and I use the word some, not all. You would agree with me that I can't teach you everything about the fundamentals of cybersecurity in just 2 hours. It's such a large subject, so it would take more time. If I have to teach you everything, it would probably take me more than 2 hours, even up to 4 hours to walk you through the fundamentals of cybersecurity. So I'm going to be teaching you some today. Okay, in other words, introduction to cybersecurity. So you would agree with me that it's usually a great idea, to start from the beginning, especially when you are new to a subject area. Anything that you're new to, is usually a good idea to start from the beginning. Then you can learn the basic and gradually build up your knowledge from there, even to the intermediate, then the advanced level. All right. So this 1-day cybersecurity masterclass training would serve as an introduction to the exciting field of cybersecurity. This particular course is designed, to raise your awareness of the risk on online security, to raise your awareness on the risk to digital assets, and it would also help you to understand what measures you can take or should be taken, to prevent yourself, to prevent your organization, your workplace, from becoming a victim to cyber attack. This particular course will help you, to develop awareness of common cyber security risk. And this will include phishing, malware, identity theft or identity theft or data loss. It will provide you, to a large extent, practical tips that you can apply, at your workplace, to prevent unauthorized access, to what you considered, sensitive or confidential information. All right. More importantly, I will show you the career opportunities in cybersecurity and the pathway leading to this green field. All right. So as it were, that is what I'm going to be helping you to see today. So I believe that I have a whole lot of people here, listening to me today, that want to make a decision, about this particular subject or this career path called cybersecurity. So whilst I'm going to be teaching you what cybersecurity is, showing you some of the fundamentals, I would also ensure that you understand and provide a whole lot of information that would help you to make an informed decision for yourself. So whether or not cybersecurity is for you or not. All right. So under the introduction to cybersecurity, we will be discussing the following topic. We will start with history and cybersecurity standard. Then, we will talk about the basic cybersecurity terminologies. So it's important that, if you're new to any field whatsoever, you want to understand the basic concepts, because if you do not have the right foundation, you might struggle a little bit. You might find it difficult. All right. So basic terminology is very, very important. And then we will move on to start to talk about what cybersecurity is all about. We'll talk about cyber threat, how to protect yourself, your organization against cyber attack, and also identity theft as well. Then lastly, I'm going to be showing you how to get into cybersecurity. All right, so let's talk about history. I mean, for some of you might think that, oh, do I need history? Yeah, maybe you do. And I think you do, because you see, if you do not know the history of a thing, then you might just assume that it all just happened. All right. For some of our children that are growing up now, everybody is used to this touch screen phone. But you would agree with me that before we had the touch screen phone, we have always had the phone. We had the telegram, we had landline and all of that. And all of those technologies are becoming obsolete, now. So it's important that we go back a little bit in history to understand how we actually get to where we are at the moment. So while this is not a computer history class training, it would not be a bad idea to learn a little bit how we got to where we are. So let's start, from 1940s, the time before before crime, when all men and women were saints, when no evil people is in this world. That's just a joke. But 1940, was the era of the giant electronics machine. I remember then, in the early days in my career, the first time I saw a mainframe, I don't know if any one of you have seen a mainframe before, it's this massive, gigantic, machine. And usually, you would have that mainframe. It would be in a computer center. In that computer center, it would be, how would I put it? It would be cold, because of the amount of heat generated by this massive, mainframe or computer electronics, so they have to keep the environment as cold as possible. So, in those days, a lot of people that, if you've ever worked in a data center, you have to wear your jacket, you can't stay there for a very long time, because of, the amount of heat that is, that's coming out of this machine, and the need to make sure, that you keep that environment, cold. So 1940 was the era of this giant electronics machine. This machine was limited, to small number of people, and they weren't network. If you understand network, they were not connected. They were not connected to other machines or other computers. All right, so you can consider them to be standalone. Only few people knew how to work them. So the threat was almost not existent. All right, so in 1940, there was nothing like cyber threat. All right, because we had the mainframe, that was not connected, to anything. But interestingly, according to history, under computer virus, the first computer virus was actually found in 1949. All right. I just want you to hold that talk. Right? So before we go there, then we now have the phone prick. Some of you, you must have heard this before. Particularly in the 1950s, this term, captures several methods that people, with a particular interest in the working of the phone, they used to hijack the process, that actually allows a telecom engineer to work on a network remotely to make free calls and also to avoid long distance talk. Some of you have, know what I'm talking about. I remember that, I've done a piece of work for BT then, and there's a particular code that you can use, and you can make calls to anywhere in the world for free of charge. And interestingly, this particular threat is still there. Because several years later, I've also worked for another organization, and I remember that we were hacked, and the hacking was more targeted. It was targeted to the PA, of the C-level managers, because the PA to the C-level managers, they usually have, their phone, they can call it anywhere in the world by reason of what they do. And I remember that when we were hacked on Friday. The company was hacked on Friday, or the network was hacked on Friday. And by the time we came back, to work on Monday, the telephone bill has run into excess of, thousands. All right, because the cyber criminal was able to hijack the network. Maybe they stole the code, and they sold that, in the dark web, and people hijack, those information, and they started making free calls. All right, so that happened or started in 1950s, but unfortunately, it is still here. All right, but in the 60s, it went all quiet. Okay, it went all quiet. It wasn't as if the threat was not there, but there wasn't a whole lot that was going on. Then in the 1970s, we had the computer security. The computer security was born, particularly in 1972. There was a research project, called the Advanced Research Project Agency Network. And this particular research ushered the internet. So it was a precursor to the internet. So to say the internet, brought about cybersecurity, especially in the mid-60s. And in the mid-60s, in the mid-70s, that's when we start to experience, or we had this concept of what we call cybersecurity. I was becoming matured. So just to let you know that, the whole idea about the internet actually started in the mid-70s by reason of that project, that kickoff, which is called the research project. It's called ARPANET, the Advanced Research Project Agency Network. Then that project actually now lead us into the internet era, which is in the 1980s. So this actually brought about the increase in high-profile attack, including those at the national CSS. So, companies like, AT&T, they started experiencing, cyber attack, especially, with the advent now of internet. Then in the 1987, this actually birthed cybersecurity. So cybersecurity, came about, properly in 1987. So towards the later end, of the 80s. And in the 1990s, the world actually went online. All right. And the first antivirus, was actually designed. Then it was purely signature based, which was just comparing. And you see, this might sound like an history to you, but you see, if you do not understand the beginning, then it might just be difficult for you. So at the moment, we're in the generation X, in cybersecurity. But before we got there, we were somewhere. All right. So if you think about the sort of antivirus that we use now, they are more intelligent. They are AI, powered. But before that time, all of our antivirus, they were purely signature based. All right. Comparing binaries on the system with databases of virus signature. This just simply means that, I may not be able to explain the details here, all right, but the actual training, I would explain what binaries is and signature. Just taking that, signature and binaries, all right. But the earlier antivirus, they were not effective. You know what I mean? They were not effective because the virus itself are becoming more clever. The rate at which viruses are released into the internet world, in the cyber world, was much more quicker, or faster than the signatures that antivirus company would have to create to circumvent, not to circumvent, but to stop these viruses in the wild, all right, because they were signature based. So it means that virus would have to have been released into the internet world. Then the antivirus company would have to now understand the virus, then start to put controls in place, all right, create a signature that would be able to identify that virus or the behavior of an application and put a stop to it. So you can see that it's more reactive as opposed to proactive, and it is not working. So what I'm saying there is the rate at which viruses are released or programs are written by cyber criminal, it is just too rapid, too fast, for companies that are writing programs, antivirus programs, to stop those viruses. And when we talk about the binaries and the behavior and signature, we're just talking about understanding the behavior of a virus, then making sure that the antivirus reacts in a way to stop that virus. But I'm still going to come back to that later. But the takeaway here is when we all of us went online in the 90s, then that is where we begin to see a whole lot of viruses in the wild. Then we had the first antivirus, which is purely signature days. You see, towards the end of the 90s, emails were also, proliferating as well, why it promised to revolutionize, communication. I remember I had my first email, I can't remember now. So I had my first email, I created my first Yahoo email around 2000 and around 2000, year 2000 or 2001. That was my first email. I remember exactly that. I went to a cyber cafe, just down the road where I lived then back in Lagos, and I created my email, and my email address ended, with 2010. It was interesting. It's like I was projecting into the future, and I had my first name and my last name then 2010, and I had that email. It was quite interesting. Then, before I came to England. So so even with email, then we had even more issues, because the email now opened up a kind of new entry point for viruses into the network. As a matter of fact, the first virus that was ever recorded was recorded in 1999. And it is called Melissa, Melissa virus. It was unleashed. It entered users' computer via Word document and then email copies of itself, to force 50 email in Microsoft Outlook. Some of you must, probably you are familiar with this, or you may have seen it before. So the emails didn't help as well, because we already had, and virus, and that virus, particular one, was able to attach itself to Word document. And if you think about this particular virus, the damage was in the estimate of 800 million to fix at that particular time. Please follow me carefully, because I'm going to be using certain numbers. The numbers is not just, I don't want you to just think, that's the number, but I want you to be able to see. Just give me a sec. Give me a sec, yeah. Timothy, please make sure that you're on standby. I am getting some messages that some people are not able to log in, please. So if you want to make sure that Timothy, if you can hear me, Tony, if you can hear me, please indicate so.
Yeah, all good here.
Yeah. There's a gentleman called Charles Newman. Tunde, I think you recognize that name. Would you mind, Charles? I think he's touched base with us before. If you want to quickly, Charles, okay.
I'll do that.
Yeah, please, if you reach out to him. Yeah, all right. So then we went from there. Then we came into 2000, year 2000. Now threat has diversified and also multiplied. All right, with internet available in all homes, many homes, offices across the globe, criminals have more devices, software vulnerabilities to exploit than ever before. As and as more and more data was also being kept digitally, there is more to plunder as well. So we're now moving to the digital era. The internet opened up the space, for the entire world, and we go digital. We have online presence. It also usher in e-commerce websites as well. People can sell online. People can communicate. I mean, you all know all of this, but I think the point I'm trying to make you to understand is, you see, cybersecurity as a career is not going to go away. All right, and so it has come to stay. All right, it's going to get better. with time, when I say it's going to get better with time, it means that, there would always be an opportunity, within the cybersecurity space. So, in 2010, we saw many high-profile breaches attack, starting to impact nations' security of countries. It will cost businesses millions. From 2010 to date, businesses and computer users are also experiencing different types of cyber attack as well. Some you might remember, some of you guys might remember in 2017, we have what we call the WannaCry. WannaCry is a type of ransomware, that infected about 230,000, computers in just one day. In fact, that particular threat almost grounded the entire NHS. I don't know if anybody remember. Then in 2019, we had multiple DDoS attack, that forces New Zealand stock market to temporarily shut down for almost a day. All right, so the increasing connectivity or the connectedness, and the ongoing digitalization of many aspects of our life, have continued to offer cyber criminal new opportunities, to exploit, the weakness, in the digital space. All right, so this is an evolution. All right, this is what has happened. You can see here from level 1 to level 5. So if you think about the level 1, this is in the 1940s. Organization lack necessary information to effectively take action. They are unaware, unable to respond to cyber issues. All right. In fact, it was almost non-existent then. Then we had level 2. All right, where we had the reactive, or what we call the SOC. As a matter of fact, before SOC, we had the NOC. Some of you, if you have worked in the, in the data center or work with computer organization, you must have heard about NOC. So NOC is Network Operations Center. Of course, SOC is more popular now. The NOC then, if you have worked with a telco, all right, if you have ever worked with a telco, you notice that telco, they are usually focused on making sure, that user can make calls, from one location to another. So they would have what we call the BSS, the base station subsystems. They will have the BTS, all right, and they would have, the mask. Some of you must have been, you're probably familiar with it. If you look up, where if you're driving, you will see all the masks all around, and those masks make it possible for you to be able to make a telephone call. So if I make a telephone call to Tunde now from where I am, Tunde is going to receive that call because my phone, has got an antenna that is constantly beaming, connecting to the next or the nearest base station. From that base station, it would make connection to the next base station up until the time that that call will reach Tunde, all right, wherever it is. All right, but in a typical telco, they are more concerned about the availability of their network, and they would have what we call the NOC, all right, which is the Network Operations Center. All right, that is all about availability. I want you to note that word, availability, because I'm still going to come back to that. So they are not really concerned, about what we call confidentiality or integrity. It's all about, can Tunde make call to Wale, or can Tunde make call to Timothy? That is all that they are concerned about. But you see, in the last couple of years, maybe in the last 10 years now, then we're beginning to see that, hang on a minute, before, beyond availability, when, we had the digital era, or we started to digitalize things, beyond availability, it's also important for us to be able to protect the confidentiality and also the integrity, of information. So what that simply means is, so whilst Tunde is also placing a call to me, we want to ensure, that whatever Tunde is being, whatever conversation we are having over the phone is also protected as well. We want to maintain the confidentiality of that conversation between myself and Tunde. And, and if I'm sending Tunde some piece of information, maybe via text, I also want to make sure that the integrity of that information, is also protected. So over the years, now bet, as a result of this need, it bets the era of SOC, which is the Security Operation Center. So the point I'm trying to make there is, before we had the SOC, we have always had the NOC. All right. But the SOC now focuses on those three, what we call the three pillars, of cybersecurity: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. But you see, in the early days, SOC is still pretty much reactive. So hence I told you about, I told you about the antivirus solution. It is pretty much, reactive. All right. So, the damage is done already. You're trying to fix, a solution in the early days. But it now also changed, when we got to the level 3 in the last couple of years, the question is, can we be more reactive? All right. In a way. So majority of organization, process platform and structures to proactively address IT issues and also security challenges as well. So for example, remember talking about availability. All right. So if you think about Vodafone as a telco organization, and they want to ensure that they want to provide 24-hour service, all right, to their customers, whether a business or an individual. All right, and they know that anything can happen, all right, into their base station, or base station can be down, as such that customers will not be able to place a call, to another customer. So what did they do, to be proactive? So they would ensure that they have multiple base stations. They will not just only have one. When you have one, it becomes a single point of failure. They would have multiple base stations across. We call it redundancy. So if one base station goes down, in wherever we live, the other one, would pick up. All right, and anything can happen that the base station will become unavailable. So they become proactive, to maintain, to maintain that level, to maintain the SLA, with their customers, and to also make sure that, the network is always available at all time. They will put in place. They would put in place, apologies for that, they will put in place, more base stations, to cover up, to cover up where, there is a disruption in the network. That is what we call proactiveness. So they anticipate that something could go wrong, and they are putting measures, in place before, anything goes wrong. Then we now had the anticipatory as well, which I've already talked about. A very small minority of organization, process platform, structures and organization process to proactively address issues and also respond to the future. I think, I've kind of explained that. Then we now move to the era of the AI, which is Generation X, where we have now. So organizations now possess automated intelligent platform, orchestrations, structures, deep learning technology, to predict IT, security issues as beyond reaction time in the future, and IT challenges as well. So what do I mean by that? So I said something earlier on that talking about the antivirus, that, it's more reactive, all right? So the virus is already in your network, and you're doing an on-demand scan, to identify the virus and to get rid of the virus in your computer. It's changing at the moment. And what is the change? Because, a lot of intelligence has now been built, into the antivirus solution. As a matter of fact, some antivirus solution, they are AI powered. All right. So when you download a piece of software onto your computer, and you don't even know what that is, so what the solution would do if you have it on your computer is they will learn, or they will think that, they would learn about the behavior of that particular software. And if the behavior, is not right, all right, if the behavior is not, when I say behavior is not right, because every software, have a behavioral pattern, okay? So for example, let me give you an example. So if you download a piece of software onto your computer, and the piece of software behaves in such a way that it wants to, collect certain information, or trying to access your database and take certain information and, collect it, aggregate those information, and wants to send it, outside of your network. So that is not the right behavior, okay, of a software. So if a software behaves in that way, then it might be seen to be malicious. It might be a malware, a Trojan, or spyware, all right? So so software are designed to behave in a certain way. So if they are behaving in a way that is abnormal, then it can be suspected to be a malware. So the point I'm trying to make here is, for most of the next generation software, or controls that has been built into our system, they are AI powered. So they do a lot of behavioral analytic. All right, so they can look at a piece of platform, check the behavior, and if the behavior is not right, all right, then they cannot take an action on the back of that. So the point I'm trying to make that there is, so we are in the generation X. We're no longer reactive, to issues, but now, solutions that we have in place now, they are more proactive, finding the problem before it occurs. All right. So let me now talk you through a little bit about our training model. All right. So our training model consists of the questions. We consist of multiple questions, 3 questions really: the why, the how, and also the what. So some of you must have, so according to Sneak is SINEK, it's a great thought leader. It says here that every organization and leader knows what they are doing. As a matter of fact, some knows how they do it, and very few know why they are doing it. So it is also true that the man who knows how, all right, the man who knows how would always have a job. The man, who knows why would always be the boss. All right. The man who knows how would always have a job, but the person that can answer the question of the why, okay, would always be the boss. So here at Smart Learning, we embed these principles into our training activity. All right. We would explain why cybersecurity is important by showing you real-world examples of what drives cybersecurity. See, one thing that we do very well on our platform is to answer the question of the why. And unfortunately, a lot of us, we know how, we get into a place and, oh, this is how they use the tools, and we just know how they use it. And there's no problem with that. You would always get a job, okay? But if you want to lead, a team of people or lead a group, then you must always ask the question, why? All right, and that is what we do very well on our platform. So with cybersecurity, so why it is important for you to know how to use the tool, we are also building leaders as well. All right. Also on our platform, we would show you how to implement and use cybersecurity tools. All right. So there would be, so for as many that will sign up for our training, the actual training I'm talking about, I will show you different tools. As a matter of fact, in cybersecurity, it can be quite tool-driven, especially with the technical aspect of it. You have to understand and learn how to use tools. All right. But in leadership, all right, is beyond tooling. Okay. So, the thought process, you have to be able to ask the why question. Okay. Then lastly, we will teach you the what. Okay. Everything about cybersecurity. So some of you today, you just know, oh, it's all cybersecurity. It's beyond that. All right. There's so many aspects to it. All right. There's so many, modules, different courses, that embody cybersecurity. All right. So we have governance, risk, and compliance. We have, threat hunting. We have, threat modeling. We have penetration testing. We have vulnerability management. We have DevOps. Some of you must have heard about cloud. So it can be all encompassing. All of these things that I've just talked about now, can be, one singular word that can use, to explain all of them, or to use, to cover all of them, is cyber security. But the good news is, on our platform, we will teach you everything. All right. So terminologies. Terminologies plays an important role in the understanding of context, and specialized text. All right. So some of you might be wondering, so why are you teaching us terminology? See, if you want to understand context, you need to understand terminologies. Understanding the intricacy technological details of a thing, whether technical or non-technical, help, you as a student to be able to build context around that particular thing. It would also help you to comprehend, what the main message of that particular discourse is all about. So you see, you cannot do well in cybersecurity without you understanding terminologies. All right, see, if you sit among your doctor friends, they probably, use certain terminologies that, you don't even know. All right, you have to get to your dictionary or Google them to understand it. So is cybersecurity as well. So there are certain keywords that we use. So, or for us in smart learning, we do not take assumption. Where you have come from. So we teach you terminologies. We help you so that it would help to build context around our discourse at all time. All right. So the terminologies that is listed here, comprises of industry-specific cybersecurity terms and definition. It provides a very quick reference to important, terms in the cybersecurity realm. So let us go through some of them. All right. In no particular order, I will go through a few of these as well. Right. So the first one on the list here is what we call the advanced persistent threat. Listen, all the time in cybersecurity, you will come across this terminology. All right. You can't shy away from it. All right. So it's an advanced persistent threat is an attack in which an unauthorized user gain access to a system or a network without being detected. All right. So the word there advanced. So it means it is sophisticated. Then it is also persistent as well. All right. Cyber criminals use this approach. I'm still going to teach you about different types of where cyber threat came from, and I will teach you. Some people, they call them archivists. All right. We have attackers. We have nation state. All right. So each of these threat sources, they use advanced persistent threat. All right. And when we say advanced persistent threat, they use different toolings. All right. To carry out this act, tools. And one of those tools, could be virus or malware, which we're going to come back to later. All right. Authentication is a process that ensures or confirms user identity. Authentication is easy for most of us. As a matter of fact, a lot of us have systems, to be honest. If you go to your bank account now, you have to put your first name, and also you have to put your username and also password as well. That is an example of authentication. Backdoor. A backdoor is used to describe an hidden method of bypassing security, to gain access to a restricted part of the computer. Remember, I gave you an example of antivirus earlier on. All right. So if there's a malware in your computer, and I was talking about how a typical software will behave. I gave an example of if you download a software into your system and it's behaving abnormal. Abnormality could be that the software or the piece of software application is trying to access your database, to collect, sensitive information, then aggregate those information, then try to send it, to a different source entirely or a different destination entirely, then that is an abnormal behavior. So the process of doing that, collecting that information, then transferring it into a particular, into a particular destination, it could be through what we call the backdoor. All right. So in every network, all organizations, they would ensure that they identify hidden doors or hidden backdoors within their network. Though some of you might be thinking, oh, backdoors. Yeah, see, think about backdoor, like your home. Some of you, and if you live in the UK or anywhere in the world, you would have a front door that leads into your house. Then you would have another door, that leads into the garden. All right. So, and well, I watch a lot of movie. So, in some movie, you could get into a house and there are just hidden doors everywhere. I remember a movie that I watched some time ago, and this crazy guy, that is sick, he kills people, and you come into the house, there's an hidden door, that it looks like a shelf, and there's a hidden door that leads to, like a tunnel. Okay. So if you think about that, so logically in every organization, there's usually what we call the back door, all right? Hidden path through which you could send information that you could send information to another destination that you will not be apparent to any other person. So your responsibility is to make sure that you identify those doors as much as possible and shut them down. Then we have the botnet. A botnet is a collection of internet connected devices, which may include your PC, servers, and mobile device that are infected and controlled by common type of malware. All right. Cyber criminal, they use botnet a lot. All right. So if they wanted to attack an organization, they would have stationed different. As a matter of fact, do you know your own computer can be a botnet? All right. So if you have a computer now that doesn't have an antivirus on it, all right, no controls at all on your computer. So cyber criminal can hijack your computer, all right, create a backdoor on the computer and use it as a botnet, to carry out an attack, and carry an attack on the particular victim. So it could be multiple devices, stations around the world, that is used by cyber criminal, to unleash an attack on a particular victim. Brute force. Brute force is an activity which involves repetitive or successful attempt of trying various password combinations to break into any website. Let me give you an example. Has any one of you experienced this? Maybe you wanted to log into your account and you try your password a few times, and after you have tried or attempted like 3 times, the system shut you out, it locks you out. Has anybody experienced that? Anybody? Just a yes will do. All right, so I see a few yeses there. All right, so, but if you think about what you did, all right, if you think about it in the reverse, that this is cyber criminals now. So if someone is trying to unlawfully, gain access, into your computer, they will try what we call this brute force. So the brute force is, so they will not attempt using multiple, well, they would use multiple username and password, but it would not be manual. You know what I mean? It would be automated. So they would use a program, all right, that would use different combination of username and password, to be able to access that system. That is an example of brute force. Hence, we call it brute force. Imagine again, sorry, I'm using the word movie now. If you've seen some movie, and maybe the bad guys wanted to get into a particular room or a place, what do they use? They use a force, with their foot, bam, on the door, and the door just goes open, or they use their gun, they aim at the door, and they break the door and they get in there. That's an example of a brute force. But the brute force here in this case, you're not using a physical force, but rather you're using a program, all right, that would attempt to use a combination of different username and password, to access that platform. All right, we have to move on quickly. Then we had what we call the DDoS attack. All right, so this is a distributed, denial of service attack in a malicious attempt to disrupt normal traffic of a targeted server, service, or network by overwhelming the target or its surrounding infrastructure with a flood of internet service. I used to give this example. It's quite funny, but I want you to think, maybe one of you, let's say, I just use one name here. Let's say Adekunle. All right. So Adekunle, let's say you are in the midst of 1,000, individuals. All right. You are in a crowd, and that crowd, they're about 1,000 in number. All right. And so somebody called your name, maybe a friend calls your name, Adekunle, you would automatically respond because that's your name, isn't it? So you would respond, and you would answer the person and say, here I am. So I want you to liken the call, the person that called your name, liken it to a traffic on the internet, okay? So, and what do I mean by that? So maybe Adekunle as well, Adekunle, you wanted to shop on Amazon, like most of us does. The moment you open your computer, and you type on amazon.co.uk, all right? So a traffic is generated, from your computer to Amazon, all right? So that is one traffic that is coming from you. The same way somebody called your name and you answered. So when you try there and you hit enter, all right, Amazon will answer, all right? And you would see the website, it would all open for you. All right. So Amazon has responded on the basis of the query, all right, that you sent to Amazon web server. All right. But Kunle, imagine that within the midst of that crowd, the 1,000 or 10,000 people called your name at the same time. It can be overwhelming because it will freak you out. You will not be able, you don't even know who to respond to. All right, because 10,000 or over 1 million person is calling you at the same time. That is an example of a DDoS attack. So you can imagine a 1 million request is being sent to Amazon website in one go. 1 million requests, or 2 million requests, or 3 million requests. So the same, from different computer, people, they are calling Amazon website at the same time. That is an example of a DDoS attack. Because what's happened with you, Kunle, what happened is, you see, you will be overwhelmed. You will not be able to, answer all of those calls at the same time. So with computer, in the case of, Amazon, with computer, so you can liken that computer to human being as well. All right. And most of us, I don't know how you're connected today. Maybe some of you, maybe you're connected to us, via your phone, or you're connected via your laptop. Every device has, they have a built-in resource, and the typical resources will be their CPU and also their memory as well. So, and manufacturers, they sell this computer to us, the value or the cost of those computers, is based on the amount of resource that is in it. So the resource could be the amount of the memory and the CPU. So the higher the memory, the more expensive the computer is. Please follow me carefully. So if you think about a basic web server, Amazon that is using, that doesn't have a whole lot of resource, okay, that is not powered, then it is difficult for Amazon, to respond, Amazon web server to respond to 1 million requests or 2 million requests per time. It will be overwhelming. That is an example of a DDoS. So cyber criminal, they use DDoS, to cause outage. They will flood your network with internet traffic, and they will cause outage. So they will cause outage in the sense that the computer, Amazon web server, will not be able to respond, okay, to query, because it doesn't have that, capability built into it. Okay, I'll stop at that. I'll take one more here, then I'll move on quickly. Let's take malware. So malware is a shorthand for malicious software, and it is designed, to cause damage to computer servers and also computer network. Remember, I was talking about malware. See, if you, Kunle, or any other person on this platform today, if you design a piece of software, that behaves strangely, all right? So say you write a code now, and say this code would enter into somebody's computer, and it would start to look for personal identifiable information, username, password, and credit card digit, So if you design that kind of software, it becomes a malicious software. So it can be termed as a malicious software. It can be termed as a malware. So the point I'm trying to make there, so even though you can't remember what malware is, just think about it, a piece of application that is behaving in an abnormal way. That's why it is called abnormal, and malicious. It's behaving in an abnormal way. Then it becomes, a malware. All right. Ransomware is in the family of malware as well. But what is different here with the ransomware? What is different is the ransom. Okay. So the ransom is, somebody will hold you at ransom. I mean, some of you, you're from Africa, probably you're from where I come from, I'm from Nigeria. And you know what is going on with the banditry and all of that now, where somebody would steal another person and they would demand for money. All right. So in the world of cybersecurity, that is also true as well. All right. So here in ransomware is a type of malicious software designed to block access to computer until a sum of money is paid. All right. So, some of you might be thinking, so why all of this thing? All right. Okay. I'm still going to come back to that, because as a cyber defender, for some of you that are aspiring, to come into the space, you need to learn all of this. These are examples of your cyber threat. These are examples of all of your cyber threats. You need to know them, and begin to put measures in place so that this does not happen. If I tell you the value how much, this type of cyber threat will cost or is costing England or costing the entire world at the moment. It's quite scary in terms of the amount if you quantify it. All right, so let's talk about a few, then we'll move on quickly. Let's talk about Trojan. Trojan is also in the family of the malware as well. So it is known as Trojan horse. Some of you, if you've watched some of this Greek film, has anybody one of Greek film? So Trojan came from, the Greek kind of thing. Has anybody watched any of those Greek film before? I'm trying to remember one. Has anybody watched Troy? Troy, talk back to me, guys. You're too quiet. Troy. Has anybody watched Troy before? Let me see. Yes, okay. So Taiwo said yes. Yeah, Shao said yes. Yeah, so if you watch Troy, you know what I'm talking about. You remember when that happened, yeah, I can't start to go into the story now. But you see, Trojans, it came way back. So it's not anything new. All right. So when they disguised this us, they didn't know, that people were hiding in this, what they call the status, the Greeks and their girls and all of that. Okay. So a Trojan is also known as an OS. It's a type of malicious software developed by hackers to disguise as a legitimate software, to gain access to target user system. All right, let me give you an example of that. So it disguised. So some of you that have watched Troy before, so that was disguised as something that is nice, like they are God. They were dancing around it. But meanwhile, there's a lot that's going on inside. So some of us, we would get on the internet. I don't know if you have come across this. You come across like a pop-up on your computer and says, "Oh, I think you're running out of blah 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 blah," or your software need an update. That is an example of a Trojan. So it would disguise as a legitimate software. But the truth be told, if you click on it, it will lead you somewhere else. All right, okay? So hold that thought because we're still coming back, to pretty much all of this. Then we have the vulnerability. A vulnerability reflects to flaws in the system that leave it open to an attack. So vulnerability is also the word interchangeably used for weakness, all right? So when there's a weakness in a piece of software, all right, then it could open the door for cyber attacks. The question you would ask me is, so Wally, why weakness in a piece of software? Don't forget that every piece of application or software that you see out there, it is being coded by human beings. All right, humans are fallible. All right, they can make mistakes. They can make errors. In fact, as a matter of fact, somebody can be coding and they are sleeping, or they can be coding and they are sipping their tea and all of that, and they can have the wrong code. All right. But listen, if those problems are not there, you and I will not be in the we're not being this rewarding career today. So there would always be weakness in software. Our responsibility as cyber defender or cybersecurity analyst or professional is to uncover those weaknesses and make recommendations to the business. All right, then one last one before I move on is called the zero-day attack. All right, the 0 day, it refers to recently discovered vulnerability that hackers can use to attack system. That is very, very important. As a matter of fact, if you do not remember anything that I've been telling you, teaching you, in the last couple of minutes, remember 0-day attack. This is one of the most common type of attack in the now. So that leads me back to vulnerability. We're talking about vulnerability, just talk about weakness in a system. So some of you will know Microsoft. Microsoft, every fortnight, they will release patches, and that patches is just to talk about, that patches is to kind of, mitigate, a vulnerability that they have discovered in their own piece of software. All right. So Microsoft, as you know, is one of the most unsecured, piece of software. It is one of the most unsecured. It is what it is because when Microsoft, was built, there weren't bad people in the world. All right. All of us were saints. We're just nice and good people going about our business. You know what I mean? So it was built, it wasn't intended then, that, people would want to, circumvent or steal something and all of that. But it is what it is. So Microsoft, among other software, would always have that what we call zero-day attack. When there is a vulnerability that is in a piece of or a suite of software that is not known, as sometimes is not even known, to the manufacturer, all right, or to the company, all right, but it is known to cyber criminals. And cyber criminals are taking advantage of those vulnerabilities, before patches or remediation, for that vulnerability is released. That is very, very important. Please note that. All right. So now that you have learned about the history, the evolution of cybersecurity, some of the basic terminologies, let us now take a deep dive into what cybersecurity is all about. The importance, the difference between cybersecurity, information security, and also information assurance. So for some of you, you just get this buzzword, cybersecurity. Yeah, it is great. But truth be told, it has multiple parts, and that's what I'm going to be showing you in the next few minutes. Okay, so what is cybersecurity? It is the application of technology, processes, and controls, to protect your system, such as your software, to protect your network, to protect your device, to protect your data, from cyber attack. All right. So when you think about cybersecurity, it is not just technology alone. It involves procedures, processes, and for some of you that have come from a non-techie background, you might be thinking, oh, Wale, how can I learn this stuff? I'm way some people say, oh, they're 60 years old or 50, and not to insult your intelligence. When I hear that, it just simply means, listen, I'm really busy, to go back, and start to study, and want to learn the basics might be difficult for me. Truth be told, there's always something for everybody in cybersecurity. You don't have to go all technical. As a matter of fact, you could be non-techie in cybersecurity. All of those aspects, whether techie or non-techie, they are all rewarding. As a matter of fact, some organization, the kind of value, when I say value, I'm talking about money, that they place on non-techie aspect of cybersecurity, it is even much more than the technical aspect. Remember what I said earlier on, our training model, the why, the how, and the what. So for you, if you align more with the non-techie, guess what? You're constantly asking the why question. You are a thought leader, and in some organization, there are the people, they might just be the type of person that they're looking for. All right. So the point I'm trying to make here, do not rule yourself out. Don't say, oh, yeah, I don't know all of those techie things, then it's not for me. That's not correct. Okay. There is something for everybody in cybersecurity. So it is aimed to reduce the risk of cyber attack. So whether you're writing a process or you're writing a piece of policy, or you're putting governance in place, all of them, or you're putting firewalls, configuring firewall, making changes to that piece of device, it is aimed at one thing, to protect, the unauthorized access, to system, to ensure that, exploitation of those systems and network is not possible. All right. So that is cybersecurity. All right. You may be reading this and also thinking, isn't the CIA tried for cybersecurity? Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to come back to all of that later. It's getting more exciting now. All right. So let's talk about the why. Remember the concept of the why. All right. So cybersecurity is very important. It is very important. I'm saying it again and again. It has become part of our life. If you go back in history, I talked about the 1940s when all men are good, then all the way to the 90s when evil evolved, then to the era that we have now, that we have much more evil in the cyberspace. All right. So then, cybersecurity is now becoming important, to us and to the world. So if you think about your smartphone, if you think about your computer, if you think about the internet, they are now, they are now such a fundamental part of our modern life, and that is correct. As a matter of fact, not me, and I know that this is not some of you as well. Some people sleep with their phone. I don't know how you do that. They can't just keep their attention away from their phone. They respond to every text messages, and truth be told, maybe by reason of what you do in life, your business, you just have to be online at all time. All right, I get all of that. But the point I'm trying to make here, it has become a fundamental part of our life. All right. And it's difficult to imagine how we will function, without them, from online banking, to shopping online, to email, to social media, Facebook, Instagram. Some people are Instagram queen, Instagram king, because they are there, maybe by reason of what they do, they have to be always online. So it's more important than ever to take, steps that can prevent, cyber criminal getting hold of our accounts and our data and our device. So it is not going anywhere. Cybersecurity is not going anywhere. All right. It has come to stay. All right. So let's put in some, again, this importance, that I've been talking about. So inherent risk and residual risk is on the rise, okay, as a result of global connectivity of computers that I just talked about earlier on, and the usage of cloud as well. It's not even getting better. So we have the likes of Amazon, we have Azure, we have GCP, which is Google Cloud, where we store sensitive data and also personal information as well. So as long as we have all of this, guess what? Cybersecurity would always be relevant. It's not going anywhere. Poorly configured computer system paired with increasing sophisticated cyber criminal means the risk that organizations suffer from successful attack, or even data breach is also on the rise as well. So, everybody's under pressure, especially companies. They will write a piece of software code, that has not been really tested, before they put it out into the marketplace. All right. So computers are becoming unsecured. All right. In fact, some of us, you go to a website and you go and watch a video or see something nice there. Do you check how they're built? You don't do, as long as, it serves that purpose at that particular time. And for some of them, they might just be fake website, that is dodgy. All right. That cyber criminals also lure us onto as well, especially if you're looking for free films. I don't think people do that anymore now that we have Netflix. If you're looking for free films on the internet, or you want to watch the Premiership and you don't want to pay for it, so you come across all sort of dodgy website that is poorly configured, that they can steal your IP addresses and also piggyback into your network as well. So cyber criminals are getting smarter, and their tactics are becoming more resilient to conventional cyber defense. Our business leaders can no longer solely rely on out-of-the-box cybersecurity solution like antivirus and firewall, because they are becoming much more smarter. You know what I mean? So remember I talked about the conventional antivirus, how it used to be. If it is signature based, it is reactive as opposed to proactive. So it's not sufficient. All right. So for this reason, there would always be need, for cyber, analysts like yourself, or someone that is aspiring to come into that space, to help, tighten up the network, make recommendations in terms of, cybersecurity solutions that is fit for purpose. They want somebody that will come put a very nice, fit for purpose, framework, governance, policies that would help the entire business. Like they say that humans, are usually the weakest point in every organization. As a matter of fact, every entity is made up of 3 elements. Number 1, people, process, and technology. You see, the process and technology, they're always constant. What do I mean by that? So if you configure your firewall in a particular way, or any solution at all, it would always remain the same if nothing changed. I'm going back to the days of my physics now. I'm remembering that every object every object will remain at the state of da. Who can help me with that? Is there any clever physics student here? If you know what I'm talking about, that every object will remember in the state of something. Do anybody remember that? Any physics student? Every object will remember at the state of rest. Aha, who is that? Yeah, Jimmy Larry. Now we're empty rest until being stopped by external force. Yeah, so this is a good physics student. All right. I can't remember. You see, that's not from Isaac Newton, isn't it? It must be from one of these. Every object will remain at the state of rest. Can somebody help me to complete that? Every object, equilibrium. Pastor Eli is equilibrium. Okay. Every object, second law of motion. Jimmy, great physics student. Yeah. I like that one. Second law of motion. That every object will remain at the state of rest until an external force is applied. Okay, until an external force is applied. All right. So this is also true as well. That when you set up your solution, and you configure it, it doesn't change. But human being, are usually the weakest link. That's why they would need someone like yourself to come into that organization, carry out, training and awareness, put together for them a solid governance program that will not only, cover the technology piece, but it would cover these three elements, both the process, and also, the technology, and also people as well. What am I trying to say there? There is a place for everybody in cybersecurity. Obviously, then without our cybersecurity is critical for business operation and processes. The importance is a primarily team with budget planning and also allocation. Please note that word because I'm coming back to it in a moment. So implementing simple cyber security tool like firewall, antiviruses is not sufficient now in our day because threats are growing, because the threat landscape is growing, the scope is expanding, sophistication and also strategy. And what do I mean by threat landscape? You would agree with me that, guys, you're where you are today. I don't know where everybody's connected from. Some people might be connected from, somewhere in Africa, and, others might be connected from here or Europe or anywhere. All right. And wherever you're connected from, you could hear me, you could see my screen and all of those beautiful things that you can see here, is because the internet has made it possible. And by reason of this, also the threat landscape, is also expanding as well. Some of you work from home. In fact, the majority of us, we all work from home now. And you can, kind of, give me a sec. Yeah. Is this from Ray? I thought Ray is there. I got something. Ray, I thought I got an email from you. I thought you were here. Okay. Okay. I think we should move on. Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. So the threat landscape is increasing. What do I mean by that? So you can imagine you can be connected you can be here and be connected to your server in America, all right, because the internet to make it possible and all of that connection. So is with the threat landscape as well. And it is not getting better with cybersecurity. It is not getting better. And it also comes with the risk. All right. So I want you to pay particular attention to this one. All right. So still very much around, why cybersecurity is important. All right. So I'm going to be talking a bit about numbers here. But you see, these numbers is more for you than for me. All right. Okay. So damage resulting from cybercrime, okay, will cost the world more than 6 trillion, by the year 2021. As in fact, we're coming back to the, to the end of the year now. All right. So think about 6 trillion, 6 million, not 6 trillion, not naira, but dollars in trillions. All right. So this is the estimated figure. I got this fact from PwC. Okay. Senior Vice President and CTO of Cisco, Susan, share research that indicate that the coder produce billion software development code every year. This introduced a massive number of potential vulnerabilities and will significantly cause an increase in zero-day exploit. They're estimated to reach 1 exploit every day by 2021 compared to a single one per week. All right. Then if you look at the FBI one, it was talking about, compromise and scam, what it has cost business, is in the excess of 12.5 billion in the last 4.5 years. Then PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, also give us an indication. The survey of 3,000 business executives, from at least 80 countries shows that more than half of the world companies are here prepared to handle cyber attack. All right, these are facts with figures. Okay, so what does this mean to you? All right. I was sharing with someone earlier in the week. You see, if you're in a job and maybe you haven't been promoted in a long time, or you're not just happy, or you're not sure, you haven't been promoted, your salary hasn't been increased in a while. Let me tell you, you're not solving a problem. It's because there's no problem in that sector. All right, so when we talk about 6 trillion, so what that came to my mind is somebody has to solve this problem, isn't it? Somebody has to solve this problem. So companies have to hire people that are skilled, all right, to defend their enterprise. All right, software companies have to design or build a piece of software, all right, that is secured, all right, and they have to hire software developers. All right, so a lot have to go on. So the point I'm trying to make there is, if you're working in a particular sector, and you're not getting a salary raise, and you're not making money as it were, and you're not happy, then you're in the wrong sector, because there's no problem in that sector to solve. All right, in cybersecurity, there's a whole lot of problem, to solve, and this is the time for anybody that is interested, to get into the space. Sorry, Pastor Ellen, what is I can't do anything with the defects. Tunde, I'm trained. I can't do anything with the defect. So if you here and your name is showing Shayo, Timothy, I expect you to be taking charge of this. If your name is showing Shayo, please, can you change your name? Some people have logged in, for some reason their name is showing Shayo. Please, can you just change your name to your real name, please, if you don't mind? A couple of people, all right? If your name is showing Shayo, please.
I think that has reduced now. The count has dropped.
Okay, so, if you go
yeah.
after those people that are specifically showing Shayo, there's nothing I can do about it, so unfortunately. All right. If your name is showing Shayo, just please, change it. All right, so, sorry, trying to get my thought back. So the point I'm trying to make here is that there is a lot going on in the cybersecurity world, and you can tell by the amount of money that the government, and enterprise and businesses, they're willing to pay, all right, to solve this problem. To solve this problem, all right. So the amount of what people are, the companies are willing to pay to solve this problem. So the whole idea is there's a lot in cybersecurity, and when you think about all this problem, someone needs to be hired, okay, to get into the space, and help solve that problem. So if you're still on the fence, you're unsure that whether or not is this for me or not for me. The question is, if you're in a place where you're not earning good money and you're unhappy, then maybe cybersecurity could be the right place for you. I think we should move on quickly, just conscious of time. All right, then this stats, I picked up the stat from UK labor market, okay? It is different from the US. So I'm not going to spend time here. It's just a stat. If you can look at the slide later, it talks about salary range, also talk about the sector, demanding cybersecurity staff as well. It cut across few. You can see that manufacturing, infrastructure, outsourcing, all cyber sector, communication, public sector, retail, and you can see, how that increase. Finance and insurance, much more higher on the bar. Reason because this industry, highly regulated, so if they are found to, suffer any cyber attack, then the regulator will come, bouncing on them heavily, and they might have to pay an hefty fine. Okay, so just something to show you. Again, kind of buttress the point that I've made earlier on. All right, so let's now talk about cyber threat, okay? So in this section, I would be explaining, I will explain what cyber threat is, where they came from, common cyber threat, and how to prevent them. Someone might be wondering, why is cyber threat important? Why do I need to know them? All right, cyber threat, they're a big deal, all right? They are a big deal. So you can liken cyber threat, as a tool used by cyber criminals to weaponize cyber attack. all right? So you could liken cyber threat as a tool used by cyber criminals to weaponize, an attack. So cyber attack can cause several damage, all right, to businesses, to individuals. It can cause, for example, electrical blackout, all right? So for most people that live in England, if you think about, our national grid, all right, where all of our electrical supply comes from, if you think about that one not just going down for like a day, do you know what that is? God forbid. So it means that people are on the hospital bed, all right, waiting to, to be attended to by doctor, maybe for surgery, booked, and all of a sudden, there is no electricity, all right? So I can't even think about the overall effect, okay? So threat, and some of these things has happened before. I will give you some facts, okay? So this is what can happen, all right, if a cyber attack actually materializes, on some of this industrial sector, all right? So military failure, failure of military equipment. You can imagine a drone that is, oh, Jesus Christ. It's even getting more interesting. You can imagine a drone, maybe that is targeted, at, the, ISIS, the enemies, and somebody, take control of the drone, and the drone deflects and goes somewhere else. It can be crazy. You know what I mean? So that is another effect, and why this subject is becoming more interesting. A breach in our national security. So, some of you must have heard about the WikiLeaks and all of that, So you can imagine the GHQ, all of the intelligence in the GHQ, all of that, get into the public space. All right. It can be, it can be catastrophe. It can cause an havoc in a society. All right. So, and there's always been secret, and you have to keep those secrets secret, so they can result, theft of valuable, if this thing happen, it can result in sensitive data like medical record, being in the wild. Imagine NHS is hacked. That can be crazy. All of our medical record can be in the wild. Imagine, sensitive information with the police is also, put out there, that you think that, oh, your next door neighbor is a pedophile. You'll be like, oh, Jesus Christ. You freak out, isn't it? And, maybe for a whole week or a month, you'll be so afraid, to let your children out, because you learned about someone that just moved into your neighborhood, that's had a bad record. You know what I mean? So all of these things, they're important. They can disrupt, our phone, our computer network, and paralyze network, making data unavailable. They can make an entire society non-functional. All right, if such, if such materialize. So I'm telling you this so that you can, kind of see the importance of what cybersecurity is all about. We've gone digital and we're not going back on it. And forever and ever and ever and ever, there would always be need for someone to protect the network. All right. So what's a cyber threat then? All right. A cyber threat or cybersecurity threat is a malicious act that seeks to damage, all right, data, steal data, destruct, our digital life, and in general, all right, so our digital life. So you can't shop on Amazon, imagine that, all right? You can't do your online shopping today, so we can't go out and we can't shop online. Can you imagine? That's Cold War, isn't it? Cyber threats include computer virus, data breaches, denial of services, and other vectors as well. So it comprises of this. So a cyber threat also refers to the possibility of a successful cyber attack that aim to gain unauthorized access, damage, destruct, or also steal, an information technology asset, computer network, intellectual property, and other forms of sensitive data. But one thing I want you to take away here, cyber threat, you can liken it to like a tool in the hand of a cyber criminal that is used to weaponize an attack. All right. So where do cyber threats come from? Okay, where does it come from? So if we know that, yeah, this thing is bad and you can use it, where does it come from? Who built them? Who designed this tool? Who create viruses? Who create malware? Who design a tool that can actually do ransomware and all of that? Okay, but before I get into that, there's this Chinese, general called Sun Tzu. He said, know the enemy and know yourself. In an 100 battle, you will never be in peril. Follow me carefully. When you are ignorant of your enemy, but you know yourself, your chances of winning a battle or losing, they are equal because you do not know your enemy. If you are ignorant of both of your enemy and yourself, you are certain, in every battle, to lose. This statement, this general is one of the Chinese generals, one of the top leaders. All right. So some of you might be wondering, so why all of this fuss about this threat and all of that? Yes, because you have to know your enemy. You see, you can't engage in a battle, cyber battle or cyberspace battle, without knowledge of who is out there to attack you. As a matter of fact, some of you will be interviewing with different organizations and in different sectors. All right, and for each of this sector, there are known enemies. All right, for each of those sectors. So if you think about telco, all right, telecommunication, if you think about, so I give an example of our national grill earlier on. So that's another sector. So if you think about, the public sector, which is the government, all right, if you think about cloud, all right, this is a subtext or under technology, that's another one. So if you think about if you think about banking, and finance, so you would have the insurance and all of that, different sectors. You see, each of these sectors, all right, have different enemies, all right? They have different, what we call threat actors for each of this sector, all right? So you have to know them. As a matter of fact, when you go interview, so you can't go interview for, let's say you go interview for, national grid, or maybe people that operate critical national infrastructure. Okay, so maybe you go to interview with Transport for London. Let me use Transport for London. So Transport for London, they manage all of our network, isn't it? All of our transport network. So the rail, the underground, the DLR. And sorry if you're from other part of the world. Apologies for the example that I'm using. They manage all of that. Or you go interview for the defense. Okay, so the defense would have top secret with them. They would be responsible for all of the military equipment. All right, but for each of these sectors, there are known enemies. There are known threat actors. So if you go interview with them, they will be asking the question: who do you think our enemies are? If you're going to come and protect us, by what I've just said about Sun Tzu now, that if you do not know your enemy, then you will suffer lost. You will suffer lost. All right. So let's look at some of those. I'm just trying to build the basis for what I'm teaching you, because I don't want you to leave here and think, oh yeah, we went for another course. I just want you to arouse your thinking and also challenge you as well. Nation state. That's the first one. So cyber attack by nations can inflict, massive havoc and impact, by disrupting communication. All right. Remember, I talked about Transport for London. All right. So for Transport for London, for example, they have to know this threat actor called nation state. People in the military, they have to know this as well. And also public sectors as well. So nation state threat, are related to attack on infrastructure, particularly critical national infrastructure. Some of you must have heard about CNI, critical national infrastructure. So their infrastructure that, if we do not have it, an entire nation can go down. So imagine, all the train station is gone. Somebody put something there and we can't use the train to London or to anywhere in the world. Imagine the roads are broken. All right. So the roads and all of that, they are critical national infrastructure. As a matter of fact, imagine I cannot place a phone call to you. We're all in the dark. That's an example of a national infrastructure. Imagine the hospital is gone. That's an example of the national infrastructure. So for each of the sector that I've just mentioned now, they need to be aware of the nation state. Okay. So because nation state threat actors, they would attack critical national infrastructures. So it can be difficult to identify the perpetrators of critical national infrastructures and nations because naturally they will wish to go undetected and would always shift the blame to independent, cyber gang and all of that. Okay. But the purpose, behind the attack can be very, can vary and might also include something like, ministry espionage. It could include influencing public opinion through disinformation, dissemination via social media. As a matter of fact, remember, remember Trump and Hillary Clinton. Remember that story. American believes that the Russians. They influenced the decision, and there was a whole lot of, that the Trump paid the Russians to hack into Hillary's account, and while all of that seems like, all right, yeah, this is news, we're enjoying the news, but these are reality. All right, so that's an example of a nation state manipulating government decision and making manipulating government decision in making, processes. So in the last couple of years, there has been a very high, few high-profile example of nation-state attack. All right, one of them is, some of you might remember, Sony Picture in 2014. All right, so Sony Picture in 2014 was actually targeted, over a movie, that was published by Sony, and that was targeted by North Korea, because they found that movie offensive. So that's one example. Some of you might also remember, recently the SolarWinds attack. All right, SolarWinds attack. I don't know if this might start a little bit, but there was a SolarWinds attack. So SolarWinds is SolarWinds have been around for a while. They're a software company. It's owned by an Israeli. So there was also, a massive compromise in that as well. Then we also had something that happened to Microsoft Exchange, zero-day attack. That actually compromised over 1 million, email server. All right, and that can also be traced back to, North Korea. All right, so hence it is called nation state, attack. So what does this information mean to you? What does it mean to you? And why do you need to learn it? All right, because you see, at workplace, or if you're working for any of this, organization, that could possibly suffer a nation state attack, you need to know your enemy. So beyond that, you need to know the means. All right. You need to know the means. When I say the means, the means just simply means that how do they carry out this attack? All right. What tools do they use? All right. You need to know their motivation. Okay. What is driving the attack? Is it for fame? Is it for, monetary reasons? And remember, we'll talk about ransomware. So ransomware is no brainer. If you attack and you suffer a ransomware, it's because they wanted you to pay money. All right, what is driving them? But you see, you would also like to know that not all attack, all right, are money motivated or driven. So you need to know what is driving it. Then you also need to know what the opportunities are. What opportunity is there, on your network, on your platform, that the cyber criminal is taking advantage of. Hold that thought, because I'm still going to be showing you a few things in the next couple of minutes. All right. I'm not going to go through all of this because I do not have the time. I'll just take one or two and we move on quickly. Then we have, criminal group. All right. Criminal group, they aim to infiltrate your system or the network with financial gain. So what is motivating criminal group? So if someone drop a piece of ransomware into your computer or into your network at workplace, and they're asking for money, that is, so we can say that is motivated by financial gain, and they would fall under this particular, threat actor that we call criminal group. Then we have the hackers. Hackers, they exploit various cyber techniques, to breach defenses and exploit vulnerability in a computer. They are motivated by personal gain. In fact, sometimes they are motivated by revenge. All right, it could also be, financial gain as well, and political activism. All right, so, if they do not like you, or government put out a policy that does not favor a particular group of people, activists, so hackers will come in that, they can hack your system, they can name and shame you. So if you live a dodgy life, for example, now, and you come and say, oh, I'm a clean person, I do not have girlfriend and all of that. I'm not saying I'm not against anybody that has a girlfriend. Sorry, I just use that as an example. But I do know I'm married to my wife. I do not have side chicks like we use it where we come from. I do not have side chicks and all of that. And you're in the public space and you do all of those things. Okay, so and hackers can go after you, take your video and all of that and put it out in the wild. Okay, so it could be a revenge. It might not just be money, but it could be money as well. Then we also have the archivists. So archivists, they carry out cyber attack in support of a political cause, all right, rather than financial gain. So for example, now, if the government comes and say, all right, we're deporting all anybody from a country called X, all right, and we're deporting them. So archivists, they can, okay, what sort of policy is that? How can government deport everybody from country S? All right, then archivists, they can revenge. All right, they can take the government website down. They can go after that individual. But the motivation here, it is non-financial. Then we also have the disgruntled staff as well. We have the insider malicious. So disgruntled staff is no-brainer. Any employee that is unhappy, maybe with salary or maybe the policy of the organization. The malicious, they are malicious in intent, and they might just steal, information in that organization that is important. All right. So I'm conscious of time, guys. So you understand that now. So let's just look at some common threat. Again, particular order. I'm going to move quickly. A few of them here, which I've already talked about, malware are the most common type of cyber attack. Threat that is used by cyber criminal. Like I said, malware is defined as a malicious software, including spyware, ransomware, viruses, worm, and also all of these, they sit under one single family that is called malware. All right. Then we have the spyware is the same as well. So anything where ransomware, it's under, malware. All right. We have phishing. Phishing is, when the cyber criminal sends, malicious email that seems to come from a legitimate source. Most of us must have received some of this email before. The user is then tricked into clicking the malicious link in the email, leading to malware installation and disclosure of sensitive information like credit card and also login details as well. So all of these, they are tools in the hand of cyber criminals, that they use to weaponize and attack. We have the spear phishing. This one is very popular as well. It's one of the most sophisticated form of phishing attack in which the cyber criminal will target, only privileged, users, like C-level managers. Remember, I gave an example earlier on that where I'd worked for before, they targeted the PA to all the C-suite managers, the C-level, is because by reason of, what the PAs does, for this, executives, they would have access to certain information. So they were targeted, they hacked their phone, and they were able to make, free calls across the world. So that's an example of spear phishing. Sometimes, you will notice that some C-level managers, they are not on LinkedIn, on social media. It's just so that they can protect themselves, from this kind of attack as well. Man-in-the-middle attack. This is very, very common. It occurs when cyber criminals place themselves between a two-party communication. Once the attacker interprets the communication, they can filter and steal sensitive information. Remember, I gave an example earlier on where I was talking about, me placing a call to Tunde, and in that call, give me a sec. So, so where I'm placing a call to Tunde. So between us, a man-in-the-middle attack can happen, where somebody can, eavesdrop into our conversation, and listen to what we're saying, and what we're saying could be very, very sensitive, and they could steal that information. I've already explained what a distributed attack is when I was giving an example of a DDoS. So when I was giving an example of a botnet, I'd use the example of Kunle earlier on. You remember that one. A SQL injection. This one is very common, especially with website that has an underlying database with them. So when cyber criminals attempt to access the database by uploading malicious SQL scripts, once successful, the malicious actor can view, change, or delete data stored in the database. All right. I'm not going to go through it. We've already talked about ransomware and zero-day attack, conscious of time. So what do you do as a cyber defender? All right. So remember we said that if you work in any organization, the question that you're asking yourself is, what would I do in this situation? How can I help my organization? So we talked about means. All right. We said, these are the toolings. This is, the knowledge. Some of them, cyber criminal can be programmers. They have wide experience. They work for various organizations. That eats a means. Motivation. Is this for financial gain, or is this just to get a revenge at somebody? All right. You have to ask yourself all of these questions. And if you walk into an interview, they ask you a question. Don't just go around and say, "Oh, I'll put a firewall in place." You want to, logically, answer the question. Oh, so what would you do in this situation of a ransomware? All right, you can say, oh, first, I have to understand the means, to understand what sort of tools, that is used to weaponize this attack, what programming language is used, to weaponize the attack. I have to understand a little bit about the motive here, is this for financial gain and blah, 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 blah. Then the opportunity, all right? So what is the opportunity on my platform, on my network, okay, that, is actually, that is sponsoring or could sponsor this attack? All right, what is the weakness on my system that, cyber criminals could leverage on, all right, to perpetuate this attack? All right, so you have to answer that question in that way. So you see, you are always in control of the opportunity. So you're not in control as a cybersecurity analyst or a defender. You are not in control of the means. You are not in control of the motive, all right, but you are in control of the opportunity. And what you do at all times is you are taking the opportunity away. So that's why you see here, I crossed that out. And if you take the opportunity away from them, they will not be able to penetrate that attack. You probably will be able to neutralize the attack. And how do you take the opportunity away? So remember, I said something about vulnerability when I was defining it. I said it is a weakness in the system. So it means that if you identify the weakness and you fix that weakness, guess what? You have taken that opportunity away. All right. And all of this in itself cannot materialize into an attack. So some of you might be wondering, is that simple? It's not that simple. You have to come to the main course, the training, where we'll be able to teach you more about what this is all about. So Timothy, if you do not mind, can you, Timothy or Tunde, we have what we call a piece of, what's it called now? For some of you that's going to wanted to take this to the next level, when I say take this to the next level, you want to talk to us to see how this fits into your existing career. Timothy is going to share with us. Timothy, if you're there, please confirm. Tunde, please help him out. Timothy is going to share a piece of form with us. Please complete that form as much as possible, because we would have a follow-up call with you. If you are interested, if everything I've said today makes sense to you, and you think, hey, Wally, I want to know more, I want to enroll for the main course, then we would schedule a time with Tunde. Please, can you confirm you're there, please? All right, can you share the form, please? The link to the form. All right, so we would like to schedule a one-on-one with you. I'm still going to come back to that later, so that we can understand your career path, where you're coming from, your background, and we'll be able to make recommendations in terms of courses for you, because the whole idea is this is going to lead you. This is going to kind of lead to the actual training, if that makes sense. So like I said, I can't teach you everything about cybersecurity in just one go. All right, you have to come for the proper training. So Timothy, share that. I don't know why it's taking so long. Share that link ASAP. Okay, thank you. All right, so now we're going to look at what vulnerability. So I've already talked about this and I've explained it. What makes the attack possible is the opportunity, that presents itself. The opportunity is usually in form of vulnerability, weakness, or flaw in your organization and your system. If these opportunities are present or exist, then the attackers or the adversaries is highly motivated and skilled, then the attack will neutralize. So what do you want to do? As a cybersecurity defender, you're taking the opportunities away at all time. And we're going to be showing you how to take that opportunity away. All right. So we've talked about all of those problems. Then how do we protect against threats? I'll give you a few examples. So number one, user training and awareness. This is very, very important. Remember, I mentioned something earlier on where I talked about where you would have, three elements that make up an entity, the people, the process, and also, the technology. So we said the process and technology, they would always remain constant, to be honest, if not broken, but users are, the most unreliable, all right, because user change. So constant user training and awareness is very, very important. So your organization should understand their roles, staff should understand their roles in keeping your organization secure and reporting any unusual activity. Secure configuration, you have to restrict the functionality of every device, operating system, and application to minimal needed for the business to function. So what that simply means is your system has to be configured. Your user, should not have excessive privileges. So a typical user should not be able to just go to the internet, download a piece of software, and run that piece of software as well. All right, you want to reduce that as much as possible. Boundary firewall and internet gateway. Yes, you have to put that on your network. Establish network perimeter defense, particular website, web proxy, web filtering, content blocking, and all of that. I know that you can't get everything in a go. In the actual training, we're going to be teaching you, how to secure, your perimeter. All right, perimeter of your network. Usually have, firewall and also devices, in place, and among them is a firewall and also internet gateway as well. Malware protection. You would establish and maintain malware defense to detect and also to respond to any malware code. So if you think about your antivirus, there is also malware, solution that can help you as well. Patch management. I talked about Microsoft earlier on, that Microsoft will normally release, patches on every fortnight. So you must have a patch management program. As a matter of fact, in one of our training, we call one of our training vulnerability and patch management. Okay, so so once you find vulnerability in your environment, you want to ensure that you have the right patch in place, to protect or to mitigate the risk of that vulnerability. Password management policy, security monitoring to identify any unexpected and also suspicious activity. So for example, part of our training, we have what we call SIM. All right, SIM, so Security Event Information Management Solution. We will teach you how to use that as well, and how you can use that to monitor your network and also to identify, suspicious activity. Then the security incident management, you put a plan in place to deal with attack as an effective response will reduce the impact on your business. So, and that goes on and on and on and on in terms of the controls that you can put in place, to protect your network. So with the link to the form is there. So for as many that are interested, that want us to book a one-on-one section with them, to discuss this further, and irrespective of the background that you have come from, so whether you are into IT or you have come from a different background entirely, like I said, there's always a place for everybody in cybersecurity. We'll be more than happy, to have a chat with you, then to advise you further. So, but fill that form and we'll take it from there. So in this section, I'm going to be showing you the difference between cybersecurity, information security, and also information assurance as well. For some of you, you must have heard about this before. You must have cybersecurity and all of that, and blah, 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 blah. And there's a whole lot of difference, actually. I've already explained what cybersecurity is, from the previous slide, okay? But I would go to what information security is. So there's been a common misconception, particularly in today's world, and the misconception is information assurance, information security and very much around cybersecurity. There's a misconception about those three. They do not mean the same thing. Okay, it's important that I let you know. So information security, information assurance, and cybersecurity do not mean the same thing. All right, though they are often used interchangeably. All right, there is also a third term, which is the information assurance that I've just mentioned, that has a different meaning as well. In fact, in the next few slides, I'll be showing you that the difference shortly. So here, I think we've already talked about cyber security. Here, information security revolves around the protection of information in all forms. All right. You see, in cybersecurity, the emphasis is so much on digital asset, online. All right. So that I don't confuse you. The emphasis is so much on online asset, digital. All right. But information security is all encompassing. All right. It talks about the protection of information in all forms. So whether logical, which is digital, or physical. All right. So this can include physical media, disk hardware, paper, books, file, etc. All right. It can also include the protection of information in the cyberspace. So you can see that when you think about information security, cybersecurity is embedded into it. All right. So cybersecurity is embedded into it. But InfoSec, all right, can be reduced to three main principles. All right. The focus is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So confidentiality just means that you are keeping information secret or hidden, maybe from your enemy or unauthorized individual. Integrity, you are ensuring information is unchanged. All right. So it maintains that integrity, the accuracy of the information. Then availability, you are ensuring that access to information, that you are ensuring access to information at all time or at a predefined or agreed time. All right. So when you think about InfoSec, it revolves around these, three core principles: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So information assurance. So we've talked about cybersecurity, information security, now information assurance. Information assurance define and apply a collection of policies, standard, methodology, services, mechanism to maintain integrity, in respect to people, process, technology, information, and also supporting infrastructure. Somebody would like, oh, Jesus, what is all this? All right, don't worry. I would, explain it. Even I have some, a kind of, image that illustrates this further. All right. So information assurance is a higher tier under which information security falls. So you can see now that, so cybersecurity falls under information security, is information security. Then information security now fall under information assurance. So it's a higher tier, all right, which information security falls under. So confidentiality, integrity, and availability are important pillars of information assurance, but it also has two other pillars or core principles that we call authentication and also non-repudiation. Authentication just simply means that checking the identity of an individual, the person, before allowing them access into the system. Non-repudiation is knowing who sent or also receive an information. For some of you, we're like, this is information overload. So let me explain that non-repudiation. It's very simple. I'll use something that you're familiar with. When I send you a piece of, most of us use WhatsApp. When I send you a piece of message on WhatsApp, so there's non-repudiation that has been built by default into WhatsApp as an app. So if I send it to you, the information will would be on your phone, but before you read that information, you would have that tick box. All right, tick symbol, and that tick symbol would be graded out. You know what I mean? Okay, it's graded out. But the moment you open your phone and read that text message or that message, then that will now change, all right, to double tick, all right, in green. All right, so that suggests to me that, oh, yeah, Kunle has received my email or received my text message and he has read it, okay? So that's an example of non-repudiation. So Kunle, you cannot deny that you haven't received that text message because I can get a confirmatory evidence, from that tick green, that you have actually read it. That's an example of non-repudiation. All right. So even if you send text message to someone, you will say deliver, isn't it? Then after that deliver, it will now say, after deliver, you will say read or something like that. Okay. So that's an example. So let's move on quickly. So information assurance, you can see, so everything I've just talked to you about is captured in this illustration. All right. So this is cybersecurity. Anything considered as in the cyberspace, computer, server farm, electronics, network devices, information protection. This is anything considered as physical, physical file, those ones that you have in your cabinets, document, file cabinets, office building. So that's it under information protection. But information security covers everything. Those in the cyberspace and those, as it were, that you can consider to be physical as well. And the core principles that information security answers is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So how is that different now? All right, so I've not captured that here under information assurance. So under information assurance, you can see that we have information security. This is a higher tier. This is a lower tier, and you have this as a lower tier, to information security as well. Everything is still there, like I showed you. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Then you now have, this extra, which information assurance provide, which is authentication and non-repudiation. All right. I hope this illustration helps, because sometimes illustration just helps better, isn't it? All right. So what are the job samples that are there? I wish I can show you this. Maybe let's leave this till later when we finish, so that I can just move on quickly. I do apologize. I think our time is fast spent. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, yeah. Let's move on quickly. So we'll come back to all of the possible jobs that are out there. But it's important that this field is very rewarding. InfoSec, like you see here, this is an information security analyst role, is different. This is an information assurance role. That's why I'm saying that, some of you just know what cybersecurity is, but it's much more deep, than that. Okay. So if you're interested, and that's why we're saying, fill that form. Let's discuss this more with you in details. Some of you might train with us. You might even end up becoming an information security analyst. Others, you might end up becoming an information assurance specialist, or you could be in cybersecurity. They are all different. But listen, the secret lies with me. Help me, come to me. Let me demystify these mysteries for you, so that you can get an understanding of what this is all about, and you can make a decision for yourself. All right, let's move on quickly. So what are the career opportunities that is there? We've learned all about all of these good things. You can see here, you could, end up becoming a security engineer, security architect, security analyst, and I have all of that defined as well. Penetration tester, threat hunter, or threat modeling analyst, information security analyst, information security governance, risk and compliance. For those that you want to go non-technical, this will be for you. So this individual, they will create, organize, and articulate, summarize risk findings that are clear and actionable by the business stakeholders. They will reduce risk by helping to prioritize and drive remediation efforts throughout the organization and contribute to risk management, treatment, and also reporting as well. So it is non-technical, as it were. All right, threat modeling is different. They would help to determine the security risk posed to a product, application, network, environment, and also determine which threat require mitigation and how to mitigate them. So if you think about all of the software, app, and all of that, before any of these products are launched into the market, they would have gone through a very rigorous testing. A threat modeling analyst would do that in that space. They will be responsible to help. Penetration testers and security analysts. So you see everything that you see here, all of these roles, we at Smart Learning, we're more than equipped, to prepare you, and get you into the job space. So if you're keen again and you want to become any of this, then fill that form and we will reach out to you. Let's move on quickly. How can we help? We're coming towards the end of this. So some of you must have been asking, all right, all of this looks very like a fairy tale. It's all nice and good, Wally. How can you help me? All right. And if that is your question, then again, fill that form and I will show you here I can help. But again, I want to spend one-on-one with you, to even explain this further. All right. who first, how can we help? But let me quickly just tell you who we are first. It's important that you know who we are. All right, as an organization, our mission primarily is to develop human capital. We do this by enhancing the skill of individual knowledge and also, prospective student as well, who wants to, get a great career in IT security, will become a practitioner. I've been doing this alongside with all of my colleagues, likes of Tunde Shogalu, and all of my trainers. We've been in this space in the last couple of years. This is our own, ministry. All right, ministry in the sense that we just enjoy helping people. We want to put a smile on your face. If that is you, you want to change career. You just in this career that is not just working. Then reach out. We will be more than happy to help you. So you can see today we've taken quality time to explain what cybersecurity is all about. And you can imagine what we would do if we get into the actual training. So we develop human capital, we help with, we're great counselors. For me, I consider myself as a career coach and also a counselor as well, because I have the ability to listen to you and also to map out, your career journey for you. Obviously, I'll be working with you, to understand the background that you have come from, then we can map out a journey for you that will lead you, to a defined destination. This is my humble self. I've been around in the last 20 years. I've had the privilege to work for so many organizations. By God's grace, I've been there, I've done that, which is good. And for that reason, so I will consider myself that, I have a lot of experience, transferable experience and knowledge as well. Beyond that, I am really passionate to help. So I've worked for so many sectors, just name it. I've been in oil and gas. I've done some work, for financial services, both here in the UK. I've done, work for technology company. I've worked in the public sector. I have worked in the manufacturing. I've done work for insurance. So I've been around for a while. Obviously, I started off, as just a young junior engineer. My background was in networking. Moved into network security, then come into cybersecurity, and then going to the management, so great all round, you know what I mean? But what does this mean for you? It just simply means that for me and my colleagues, we have these years of experience that, with knowledge that we can transfer to you. See, knowledge is, I use this word, not a dodgy word, when I'm speaking to prospective student, I'll say, come, let me show you the back door. The back door does not mean anything dodgy, all right? It just means that, so why, waste, your time, starting from scratch? Why don't I transfer my knowledge to you, make it your own, and, cut down that journey of 6 years, cut it down into 6 months, or journey of 3 years, cut it down into 3 months. That's exactly what I do very, very well, and my colleagues as well. So where we use real world examples, to train our students, is that it is in the marketplace. That's exactly what we're teaching you. So we take a very unconventional approach to training. It's not the, what's the cybersecurity, So we bring it into life, for you in a way that you would understand and you would also appreciate it as well. Also have my colleague here, Tunde Shogalu, and a few of my trainers. We've got Obiageli Metibemo. We have Adeadeniye, Grace, we have Tola, Welumi, Yvonne, John, Ola, Dr. Mike, Tim, Harry, and a host of other people that support this work as well. We have many mentors on our platform. We have likes of Tony, we have Larry, Odesoya, and quite a number of them all scattered everywhere in a good way, helping this initiative. One thing that characterizes us is the ability that we love and we enjoy and helping people. It does not really matter. Even if you decide to call me today and you end up going somewhere to do your course, it doesn't really matter. As long as you feel value and I've helped you out in one way or the other, and you're able to make a career out of this, we're more than happy. But our support network is I don't want to use the word crazy, but it's the best. If I use that word, our support network is the best, because we have an alumni group, with a whole lot of people. This is where, when you secure a job, we'll bring you to that alumni ship and you'll be able to connect with people. So we're constantly supporting people, in their career. And you can ask questions. There are no silly or stupid questions we would ask you. So why do we exist? We focus on effective knowledge transfer of online, of learning into workplace. All right. So it is practical, it is hands-on. It's not all of those theoretical nonsense, to be honest. So if you look at all the examples that I've given to you today, it's as if you would use it at workplace. So that's why they would come to our training. They will spend 3 months with us. In the third month, they secure a mind-blowing job. And remember, I talked about the knowledge transfer earlier on. So imagine if you sit with someone that's got 20 years experience and you constantly sit with them. It won't be too long. It will rub off you as well because you will not become knowledgeable. And that is the smart way of learning. And that is the back door that I'm talking to you about. So we do a whole lot of knowledge transfer, then we do practical hands-on. As a matter of fact, on our training, you will get the opportunity to work on some of our live projects where you'll be able to put into practice what you have been taught as well. So why do we do this? We offer a comprehensive array of specialized design cybersecurity training courses across all levels, beginner to intermediate to the advanced. That is what we do all across our training as well. So irrespective of where you are in your career, do not worry. So whether you don't even have a clue, we'll probably start you off with the beginner and we'll build you up to the intermediate, then to the advanced. All right. So what approach do we take? We take three approach: assessment, development, review. So the assessment just simply means is, we'll create a learning roadmap for you. So like anyone that is keen and want to do this with us, again, fill that form, do that quickly. Once you do that, we'll have an assessment with you. All throughout this week, I'll get on a call with you, asking questions, your background, where you have come from, what do you know, and all of that. It doesn't really matter. So whether you're testing or blah, 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 you want to cross over to this place, that is where the assessment will come from so that we can build a roadmap for your learning to guide your professional development through our initial assessment of your knowledge, skills, and also interest as well. Then obviously the development is where the training comes in. It would help you to improve your knowledge, skills, and confidence through varieties of learning methodologies, online, on-site, and also flexi learning as well. And lastly, we constantly review where our students are. We support your progress through regular assessment, one-on-one feedback, interview preparation, CV review, and every other thing that you can think of as well. I'm rushing now because of our time. I do apologize. This is a typical candidate's journey. As you can see here, we start with the personality trait, which is not different from the assessment. Because when you call me tomorrow or next, we'll spend time with you. Because it's what we're doing today, all right, which is we're showing you, bringing your introduction into cybersecurity. Candidate onboarding is what follows. If you decide, to join the course, with us, then in training is what happens on the 11th. The actual training will happen on the 11th of October. I want you to note that, for as many that are interested, more reason why you have to fill that form and get in touch with us after. Then after the training, which will last for 2 months, then we do the work experience training. This is where you're working on a live project with us. And this will further just enhance whatever that you've been taught in the course of the training. We'll do mentoring for you, and we'll also do CV review for you. So immediately after the work experience, we're doing the mentoring and the CV. Then at the last, which is the 7th one, is the mock interview. And this is where you get the crown. And what is the crown? You secure a job. All right, our course levels, I've mentioned that. We have beginner, we have intermediate, we have advanced, then we have the bundle. All right, so irrespective of where you are, we can pick and choose different courses for you among each of this level, and it can become a bundle. As a matter of fact, for each of our training batches, we do a bundle of 10 courses, which is a mix of technical and non-technical courses. All right. This is an example of our course category. We have cybersecurity courses, IoT, cloud courses, and also governance, risk, and compliance as well. So for this particular batch that's going to be running or starting on the 11th of October, we're running 10 different course modules. 10 different course modules. It's a mix of technical and non-technical courses, but they are cybersecurity courses. Okay. Career pathway. Somebody might be wondering, Wale, I'm in this type of career. How do I get into cybersecurity? All right? The assessment would help us. So I want you to think about, two threat actors here. Maybe you, Adekunle or whoever is there, you are student A, and maybe someone else, Jumi, you are student B, all right? So if Adekunle is a project manager, so this is just an assumption. So Adekunle is a project manager, or is into project management, or business analysis, or maybe you're just a career, you're doing career job, or you're a receptionist somewhere, all right? So this is an example of different skills area, all right? So this individual can possess any skills, all right? Okay, but with all of the skills that they possess, from the assessment and skill evaluation that we do for them, they usually, will consider them to be non-technical, all right, because of the background that they have come from, all right? So this individual, after the training, they want, and the whole idea is they want to transition career into cybersecurity, okay? So after the, the assessment and the personality traits assessment that we do for them, all right, and the training, they can end up, as an information security, governance, risk, and compliance, analyst, or they can become a technical business analyst or a technical project manager, all right? So someone might still want to hold on to their project management skills, but they want to end up in cybersecurity. So the training, after it has, it's been completed, they can end up, taking more cybersecurity related role, as a project manager or a business analyst, or they could end up becoming an information security, governance, risk, and compliance specialist. So this is an example of a career transition. And the reason why we put this together is, you see, this approach has been tested. I've tested this approach all the time, and it works. All right. So more reason why we need to talk to you. So irrespective of your background, so whether you're a project manager, a business analyst, or you fit into others, let's have that chat so that we can do skill evaluation for you, and we can train you up, and you can become any of this. All right. You can see this arrow pointing downwards. So from experience, I've also seen a lot of people where they start out as an information security, governance, risk, and compliance specialist, then they end up as a cybersecurity analyst. So the skills that you would have acquired here, can also be transferable, to becoming a cyber security analyst. Just bear with me. Okay, all right. Okay, so you can end up being here. But if your student B, let's say Jumi is here, and Jumi is an IT specialist, she's already IT and all of that. So I would consider Jumi to be technical. All right, or Jumi could be doing something different, okay? But after the assessment, I would consider Jumi to be technical. You see, Jumi can end up, after the training, becoming a cybersecurity analyst or an information security analyst, or even beyond that as well after the training. So this whole idea about career transition is just to, show you these two these two actors, and by reason of the assessment that we're going to be doing with them, collecting information about their background and skilled area, we can train them up, and they can also end up becoming any of this, in cybersecurity. Almost there. All right, so we've talked about this before, this one now, but how do you now boost that part? All right, how do you become it? How do you become that technical project manager or business analyst? All right, so again, project manager, you could do so many courses with us. All right, number one, you could take an identity access management course, password access management, data loss prevention, cloud governance. So these are all courses that we do. And when you do this, all right, you can end up, becoming a technical project manager. Because you see, in cybersecurity, if you're a project manager, in cybersecurity, if you're already a project manager, but you're looking to come into cybersecurity, there are certain skill sets that you must, possess, or you must have acquired, and from experience, I haven't been in the cybersecurity space for a while, identity access management, data prevention, loss, knowledge of cybersecurity can position you for a job, as a technical project manager. All right. The same applies as well for business analysts. So if you're already a business analyst, you've done some business analysis work, which is great. You know what I mean? But you want to get into, become a technical business analyst in cybersecurity space, then it only just makes sense for you to take certain courses that will position you for that role. All right. For technical, all right. Technical again, this is what you could be. You could become cybersecurity analyst, vulnerability management analyst, SOC analyst, penetration tester, and solution architect. You could also be this as well if you're coming on the non-technical route. And these are examples of courses that you can combine with us. So we have all of those courses. Once you do this, we can prepare you for a job of this. The same applies as well. Technical, if you want to go all technical, you can do any of these courses with us, and you can become any of this as well. So for you to be here, these are examples of courses that you will do for us. You could do with us. Remember, I said something in cybersecurity, you can be all technical, you could also be non-technical as well. So if non-technical aspect of cybersecurity is what you're interested in, these are good combination of courses that you can do that can lead you there. All right. Let's just look at this one, and this is where we'll be ending the training today. All right. So this illustration is just to kind of guide you, how you can make selection of courses and what that actually means. Okay. So imagine this is my bucket, but this is you, and you have all of this to choose from. Okay. But with the view that you want to become something. All right. And what is that? You may want to become a technical business analyst, or you want to become a technical project manager, or you want to become a cybersecurity analyst. So what courses can I combine? I think I've already explained it, but maybe this illustration will just help follow. What courses can I combine that will lead me there? All right. So this illustration helps us. All right. So I've already explained it. All right. So if you're aspiring to become a technical BA and all of that, we said, if you're already a BA, you already have that skills, that's fine, but you want to go into cybersecurity and hence some very cool money and all of that. Then from there, find your way into becoming a cybersecurity analyst or even a solution architect. Then you could start with, those courses, identity access management, data loss prevention, password management. And the reason why identity access management is very key these days, listen, we live in a connected world. If you think about an organization, most of them, they have cloud services. Everybody has moved to cloud. So the problem of identity is a major issue, and it's not going to go away as long as we have cloud. All right, it's not going to, I'm telling you some secret. All right. So sometimes if you don't know what to do, all right, and you're not sure, I can tell you that there are certain skill sets that if you have it or you acquire them, you will never be out of job. All right. And among them is learning identity access management. So whether you're technical or non-technical, you could learn it, and that could open the door for you. All right. Then data loss prevention, then also password management. Let's look at another one. Assuming you want to apply for cybersecurity risk analyst, cybersecurity job. This is another good one that you can combine vulnerability management, penetration testing, cybersecurity essential, which is one of our courses. So you see all of these things that you have there, that you have colored, just beneath all of this one, beneath this one, they are all courses, all right, that we offer, and you can combine them, and when you combine them or you do all these courses with us, you can conveniently apply for roles like that. Okay, let's look at another one, conscious of time. Solution architect, so that is cloud. We're not offering AWS in this batch, all right? We're not offering it, so it's important that I say that so that I don't confuse people. But we have the course, but not in this batch. We're not offering it in this batch. Information security governance. So if you want to end up non-technical, all right, so you will do this course with us. We call it governance, risk and compliance. ISO 27001 essential, not foundation. We'll teach you how to implement ISO 27001. You will do cybersecurity risk management, third-party risk management, cloud governance, and also general data protection regulation. So if you combine all of this with a practical, you should conveniently be able to apply for, information security, governance, risk and compliance
role. All right, so let's look at then, yeah, this one, another interesting one, enterprise security architect. So this is technical though. So if you're keen and you want to go technical route, this is a very good one for you. What is more interesting about our platform is, so I have people that have this, that they specialize in each of this area. And when I say specialized, they are quite clued on, they are knowledgeable. It's their bread and butter, is what they do every day at work. Okay, so you can combine that course as well and become an enterprise security architect. But this one is technical. All right, so we're coming to the end of it now. Just a few more slides and we're done. So yeah, so this is the desired destination for everybody. They want to be in the management. All right, but you don't get here. You don't just jump and become this thing. I would have gone through all of this. So entry level, mid level, advanced level, then we also have the management level as well. So it doesn't mean that you will start at the entry level. So I've seen people that will train, and by grace, they end up here in the mid level. So they become a cybersecurity analyst, and the salary range from here in the mid level. For a PAMI job, you probably will be looking at a minimum of 55, to 70 above. Advanced level, you'll be looking at maybe like 75, going to 85, and on the top level. Then obviously, management is much more than that. In fact, some advanced level can even take you to 100K, depending on the the value that is placed on that role. Then management, maybe from 120 and above. All right. So most times when we train people, they start from the mid level, not here. So because most of people, that we train, by reason of the amount of information that we give to them and what they learn, they start here and they gradually progress in their career. So this is what typical career path will look like. Some of you might be asking me questions about certifications and all of that. Yes, when you sign up with us, you will do 2 certifications with us. They are vendor specific mainly, but there are some certifications that are vendor agnostic, all right? They're vendor neutral, and they're here as well. So you can look at this fishbone model that I put here. You could see here, anything that is below here, where my cursor is, there are all sort of governance and non-technical certifications. All right. So if you're really keen and you want to become a GRC specialist, these are not bad certifications for you to do. So you can see here 27001 foundation, and all the way you could become a lead auditor. These are all ISACA exams as well, CISA, CRISC, CISM, and all of that. Then we have the technical one, security certified professional. So rather than starting from the top, it's good to have a nice foundation that build you up to the space. This one, cloud architect. So again, have a very nice foundation that build you up to that place. Certification is good, but don't spend too much of your time trying to do all the exam in the world. They are too much, all right? What we evangelize on our platform is, learn, understand, be able to prove what you're learning, and you will get a job. Don't be hell bent on all of the certifications. I've seen a lot of people of color that make that mistake. It's just certifications all the time. It doesn't take you anywhere. Once you secure a job in this role, yeah, maybe you can do 1 or 2, but learn the heart as opposed just to the theory. I mean, some people will prove that certification is a proof that you have a knowledge of everything. I kind of bet to disagree. Truth be told, some people know how to pass exam, but it doesn't mean they're clever. While others, maybe they don't know. You know what I mean? But it doesn't mean that they're less clever. I've worked with one of the most brilliant brains in my life, and interestingly, they don't have any certification, but put them on the job, they will do it. So don't spend too much time trying to do all of the certification. Most of my students, they come here, they smash, they get great jobs, and I have a lot of testimony of people that they don't even have no certifications. But on our platform, I haven't been taught, you will get the opportunity to write 1 or 2 certifications, 2 at the max, at least that can kind of prove your knowledge. But learn the art, spend more time learning the art, as opposed to, just burning candles doing certifications. All right. Thank you so much. So the training starts on the 11th of October by God's grace. All right. So we have come to the end of it. Thank you. I'm happy to take any question. But before I do that, I would give me a sec. I wanted to bring up. Give me 1 minute. All right. I believe you can still see my screen. So I was going to show you some job then, so these are typical jobs. All right. So InfoSec jobs, you can see here. I didn't manufacture this job. They are there. All right. So good job. This one is paying up to 700. If you have the right experience, you can do any of this job, to be honest. And these are the mid-level that we're talking about. So don't be scared by the number. All right. That, oh, yeah, you could do it if you apply yourself to it. And by reason of what you're going to be getting on our platform, we should be able to prepare you for all of this job. And you can see most of them are remote based as well. Local console and all of that. So these are typical example of jobs that are out there. So a lot of jobs. I wanted to show you. Let's say, remember I talked about information assurance. Information assurance jobs. So let's see what is there. Information assurance. So information assurance as a consultant. Yeah, information assurance. They are slightly different from just a standard cybersecurity job. So if you want to work for the government, MOD, and all of that, you'll find a lot around the information assurance. So you can see here, I said MOD, it's as if I was there. Yeah. So HMG. So these are all government, just out of interest. So they take information seriously. Those are information assurance. Then obviously the typical cybersecurity analyst role. Okay. So guys, I want to say thank you. I would